Welcome back to France 24, and as promised, the much-loved Fashion Friday. And as always, our fashion critic, Jessica Michaud, joins us in the studio. Jess, tell us about the new collection from fashion designer Azzedine Alaïa and his meticulous work method.
Meticulous is right. Azzedine Alaïa, the reason you don't see Azzedine Alaïa on the regular fashion calendar is because the man will not put his collection down the runway until he thinks it's absolutely ready to be seen by the public. You know, getting an invitation to one of his shows, which it always takes place at his headquarters in the Marais here in Paris, is quite an honor. Only a few members of the press are ever invited, and no TV cameras, except for us. We were quite lucky. The audience is asked actually even not to take any photos with their cell phones so that none of the images will show up on the web. People who come to the show are usually friends and family and, you know, collectors of Alaïa's clothing. At his most recent show, this included the likes of the architect Jean Nouveau, the actress Monica Bellucci, Olivier Saillard, who's the curator of the Galliera Museum, and even fellow designer and, you know, growing legend in his own right, Nicolas Ghesquière, who's the designer behind the brand Balenciaga. We actually asked Ghesquière what his thoughts were, what was the power behind Azzedine Alaïa, because in fact, the man himself will never give interviews, very rarely gives interviews. So let's listen to what Nicolas Ghesquière has to say about Mr. Alaïa.
I think it's the way he has of renewing himself without veering from his extremely brilliant, extremely precise style. Sometimes the materials are indefinable, and that's really rare. Nobody knows how to invent new fabrics today, and I think that Azzedine is the only one, really. It's very neat, it's full of details. I think the construction of his clothes, the way they're fused, almost melted onto the girls, the models, and this is uniquely Azzedine. We don't know where the seams are, really. We don't know how they're constructed, and that's truly magical.
High praise indeed, Jess.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. There were a number of other people who, after seeing the collection, had some great reactions for us. For example, the architect Jean Nouveau told us that Azzedine is a magician, that this is someone who works with structure and lightness, that he has a poetic flair that incorporates ideas from the four corners of a globe. He's always managing to surprise us. He said he's even like an architect, that he works with texture and structure, which makes it almost like great art. We also heard from Olivier Saillard, who said that the collection was really the essence of the designer, but always with a little touch of fantasy. That he had found a balance in his work that showed himself to be a great artist. And then finally, Monica Bellucci, herself actually wearing Azzedine Alaïa to the show, said that wearing his clothing is like wearing a second skin, and that women, once they wear Azzedine Alaïa, they fall in love with the clothes, and then when they meet him, they fall in love with him, and then it's an eternal love, one that lasts a lifetime.
But just you said earlier that, you know, Alaïa rarely gave TV interviews. Have we ever managed to get him on camera?
Yes, we actually got him on camera last December for the opening of an exhibition of his work at the Groninger Museum in the Netherlands. But this is a man who hates the spotlight. He's never satisfied. He never gives interview. And even before this show, he told us, you know, under his breath, that he didn't think that this was a major collection for him. But Alaïa really is an important voice in modern fashion. He is truly adored by the industry. And I just want to show you a little clip of him at the end of the fashion show when usually a designer comes out and takes a grandiose bow. So let's take a look at how he takes his bow.
We just saw it.
Oh, we just saw it. Oh, I was chatting away. Here he is. He finally comes out. There he goes.
There you go. But Alaïa wasn't the only designer who's caused a stir in the world of fashion, was he?
No, he wasn't. Also this month in Paris, it was the first ever Black Fashion Week. It's an event that has taken place in the past in places like Prague and Brazil, but this is the first time it took place here in the City of Light. The goal of this Fashion Week is to really reveal the richness of the Black culture and to raise awareness on the within the world's press. The idea of Black fashion, and that's not necessarily African fashion. It's important to understand that this Black Fashion Week doesn't, you know, bend itself to the whims or the trends of international fashion seasons or ideas, and it would be mistaken to pigeonhole this Fashion Week as Black designers designing only for people of color. It really was a dynamic first step for Black Fashion Week, and I look forward to seeing how this event evolves in the future in Paris.
Jess, before you go, you have a few fashion flashes for us.
Yes.
First up, the latest ad for Chanel No. 5, the fragrance.
Yeah.
is starring a man.
Yes, first time ever that Chanel has ever tapped a man to front for the iconic fragrance, and for the auspicious occasion, they turned to the quite scrumptious Brad Pitt, who was reportedly paid $7 million for the campaign. But before I go into the actual details of the actual campaign, I want to show a little quick clip of it so you know what I'm talking about.
It's not a journey. Every journey ends, but we go on. The world turns and we turn with it. Plans disappear. Dreams take over. But wherever I go, there you are. My luck, my fate, my fortune. Chanel number 5. Inevitable.
Yes, so the reaction to this has been quite tepid. Most people think that he looks incredibly uncomfortable, that it looks really splacked together at the last minute, talking directly to the camera that way. It looks almost a little cheesy, some people are saying. But unlike when Catherine Deneuve teamed up with Helmut Newton to speak directly to the camera, or the fantastic spectacle that was Chanel's partnership with Nicole Kidman and Baz Luhrmann, this video feels really uncomfortable. So much so that Chanel actually sent out, just I think the day before yesterday, a new version where most of the text is covered by images of beautiful women looking fantastic in Chanel clothing, and you just have the voiceover of Brad Pitt. So clearly maybe they should have stuck with women as opposed to men for the spokesmodel.
That's what I was about to say. Now let's get a little news from W Magazine.
Yes, so W Magazine is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and to mark the occasion, the editor-in-chief of the magazine, Stefano Tonchi, created 4 different oversized covers for the magazine for the November issue, and basically each cover pays tribute to a different decade of the history of the magazine, stopped by Stephen Meisel and styled by Edward F. Info, excuse me. The cover features Hollywood stars like Rooney Mara, Mia Wasikowska, Scarlett Johansson, and Keira Knightley. They're all made up to look like different representations of the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, and the aughties. And each actress was to talk about a little bit about the era that they were representing, which is kind of funny when you think about Rooney Mara, who was actually born 5 years after her 70s cover. So
great covers there.
Yeah,
that
beautiful.
Just seen. And just we've got time for one final flash.
Yes, well, I wanted to talk about actually a men's accessory. There's the new Swiss watch that's coming out by the famous Swiss watchmaking brand Gerber Forcé. They've teamed up with the British artist Willard Wigham to create the art piece 1. And basically, Wigham works with a scalpel and a microscope to create nano sculptures, which are so small that he actually had to learn to control his breath to sculpt in between his heartbeats. So basically, normally designs can only be viewed through the microscope, but Gerber Forcé developed an optical lens small enough to fit into the crown of the watch so that you actually can see the sculpture. If you hold the watch up and look through the side, you can see through the crown these sculptures that Mr. Wigham has created. So it's quite a beautiful combination between a timepiece and sculptures.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yes.
All right, well, Jess, that's all we've got time for. But if you want to learn more about Jess's fashion reviews, you can go onto her website, nowfashion.com, and follow her blog, jessicamichaud.com. Thank you very much, Jess.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much for watching France 24. Do stay tuned for more headlines.